Yeah, welcome to Point to Point channel. So today I will discuss about Spring Boot REST exception handling concepts. So basically how to handle the exception and what happens if we throw a custom exception and how to return a text code for the custom exception and how to customize the error message as per our requirement and how to handle the exceptions globally and what the difference between controller advice versus REST controller advice and what the use of response status exception. So I'm going to cover all these concepts here. So without wasting time, let's jump into the coding. Yeah. So just some time before, have created this particular demo project. In fact, I have discussed all the rest concepts in my previous video. So, I mean, you know, so this is the employee controller. So I just demonstrated all the employee CRUD operations in my previous video. Okay. So here you see. Okay. And similarly, we have an employee entity. Okay. So these are all I already discussed in my previous video, but however, I just want to give high level code walkthrough. Okay. So here this is a just a what you say DTO object or model object. So basically, we return this particular object back to the client, not the entity. Okay. So this is the repository. Okay. Which deals with basic CRUD operations with the database. Okay. And this is the service implementation. Okay. So basically, this is a service implementation. Okay. So here, if you see, this is the main class in which we have a main method just to start our Spring Boot application. Okay. Um, yeah, so this is nothing but a application.properties which has MySQL database related properties. Okay. Yeah, so this is a just high level code walkthrough. Okay, now I'm just closing all classes. Okay, so let me open this controller. Okay, now since our today's topic is how to deal exception handling right within the Spring Boot. So now I'm trying to fetch any one employee record with the help of this get call. Okay. So here what we are doing, we are simply fetching one employee record. Here if you see the implementation, okay, we are just invoking find by ID. In case if that record is not available in the database, we are just throwing some exception. So in Java 11 they have introduced this RLs throw. Okay, basically internally it will he see here we are not passing any type of exception within this RLs throw, but however internally it will throw no such element exception, right? So let's see what happens. Okay, so yeah, see server has already started, and in my previous video I have already enabled Spring Boot dev tools, so I no need to restart the server whenever I do any changes. Okay, so let's see in the database. Okay, so in the database we have a record, one single record whose ID is 10. Okay, so now let me fetch record whose ID is 11. Okay, so whose ID is 11. Okay, then what happens? Yeah, see, I'm just pasting this particular response in Notepad. Yeah, so you see, we have some timestamp. With this particular format, so the format is, it's a default format of Spring. Okay, you see, status is 500, internal server error. Here you can see no such element exception. So as I said just sometime before, Java 11 uh, internally throws no such element exception whenever you invoke or else throw. Right? See, no such element exception, no value present. Okay, something it is showing some exception stack trace, right, so on so place. And if we scroll down, okay, it is also showing message no value present and those so on so path, right? So i mean uh, of course, see, this is a trace in the sense, what went wrong, what's the reason behind this internal server error. So that's nothing but this is a trace. Okay, so let's try to throw a custom exception, then see what the exception, or what the error response we see at the time. Okay, so for that, okay, what we need to do. Okay, so I'm just creating one package. Okay, see, this is the package. So I'm just creating one new package with the name exception. Okay, so here, okay, I'm just creating one Java class. Okay, with the name, generic name, resource not found exception. Okay, So right? I mean, so whenever we want to throw custom exception, basically we will write a brand new Java class which extends runtime exception, right? So runtime exception. Okay. So here, what we write one constructor, public resource not found exception. Okay. So here, um, I'm expecting some ID, I mean unique primary key of that particular record. Okay. So here. We know, I mean, we invoke a super method, right? So within the super method, okay, so I want to customize this one, string dot format of, okay, so here resource not resource uh, resource id, okay, id percentage d, okay, d not found in our records, okay, records comma percentage d, okay. So sorry, not percentage d, id, okay. So you see, I mean, nothing, I mean, I just created a new Java class, that's it, okay, which extends runtime exception. So inside that we have one constructor. Within that constructor I'm just invoking super, okay. So now we are good to throw this particular exception wherever we want. Okay, so now I'm just copying this exception. Okay, so now let's come back here. Okay, so now earlier, by default it was throwing no such element exception, right? So now within this one, okay, obviously it expects a supplier in the Java stream. So that's why we need to write something like this. Okay, so here, so supplier internally have get method, it will always return a value, right? So new resource not found exception. Okay, so here I'm just passing this id. Okay, yeah, we are good. See, yeah, see, now we have written one custom exception. Now I'm trying to throw this particular resource not found exception whenever whenever that employee record is not available in the database. Okay, so now let's try to invoke employee record. Okay, the same record whose id is 11. I'm just trying to hit once again. Yeah, it's restarting internally, it will take a while, so let me hit once again. Yeah, so now this time you see, yeah, so this time you see, yeah, see the same timestamp, same status 500. See, this was the previous what is a error message, right? Here also status 500, here also status 500. So earlier also, I mean, in the case of no internal server error, here also internal server error, right? So earlier, I mean, it used to throw no such element exception, right? It's a default exception from Java 11, right? So no such element exception. Now here, if you see, see resource not found exception. Why we are throwing our own exception, right? Resource not found exception. So clearly you see our message resource ID 11 not found in our records. Of course, it is showing some stack trace. Okay, and after that, see here you can see properly resource ID 11 not found in our records. Okay, but here earlier in the case of no such element exception, here you can see no value present. Okay, so now compared to the previous case, I mean, now we are able to return a better error response, right, with the resource not found exception. So right, um, so is it enough to throw this kind of custom exception? So let me analyze. Okay, usually whenever employee record is not available in the database, what exception, I mean, what is the expected status code, so we have many status codes, right, in REST. So in my previous video also I have already stressed on this particular point. So we are supposed to return 404 404 http status dot not found. Okay, 404 status code we need to return in this particular case, not 500, right? So um, but however, I mean, I just returned resource not found, but I mean, I'm able to see internal server error and 500, right? This is not looking good. Then how to return a correct status code in the case of custom exception? right? I'm supposed to see here 404 and something not found or something like that. Okay, so for that, what we need to do, okay, yeah, let's come here. Okay, resource not found exception, right? Just on top of this particular class, what we need to do, response status. Okay, so just we need to add this particular annotation at the response status. Okay, within this you need to pass http. Okay, see, http status dot not found. Okay, so what does it mean? So whenever we throw this resource not found exception, since we are adding at the rate response status not found, so internally it will consider this particular status code instead of 500. Okay, so let's test the same. Okay, I'm not sure, it will take a while to restart. Yeah, see, as I said, it's taking a while. Uh, let's try once again. Yeah, so now see, see, 404. As I said, 404 clearly not found. Okay, and this and all is same. Resource not found exception. Okay, and here you see, here also we can see our exception message properly. So what's the difference between current scenario to previous versus previous scenario? In a previous scenario, okay, even though what do you say, we return the resource not found exception, it used to throw 500 internal server error. So step by step, I mean, we are what do you say, achieving the, we are trying to achieve a better results. Okay, now what's happening, I mean, we are just returning a proper correct status code 404 with the help of at the rate response status. Okay, now, okay, so now we are able to see status as 404 and not found, right? So here, see, we are able to see the message also properly, right? Resource id 11 not found in our records. Then in that case, this lengthy trace is really required. Lengthy trace. Okay, how to eliminate this? Okay, so for that, um, for that, yeah, just we need to add this particular property in application.properties. Okay, let me open application.properties. Okay, so here just add this one. See here, what I'm adding, server dot error dot include stack trace never. So that means whenever it returns a response, so just do not include the stack trace. That's it. Okay, so we just added. Okay, now let me try to hit this particular response once again. Yeah, see, you can see now 404 not found, resource ID 11 not found in our records path. See, now it's looking in a bit better way, right? So, so far so good. I mean, so with the help of custom exception, resource not found exception, so somehow we are able to see the exception or error message in a proper way, right? So, but see, in a real time, we do have n number of controllers, n number of service implementation classes, n number of repositories, right? So now, just for a demonstration purpose, we have one controller and one service implementation, right? So in that case, and moreover, okay, moreover, what you say? One more point here I want to stress. Okay, uh, is there any way to customize this particular error message? Customize in the sense, okay, let me tell you in a detailed way. Okay, so here, see, this is the error message, right? Right now we got. So for example, timestamp you see, I mean, 2023-01 or something like that, right? So I want to have a timestamp as per our requirement. I mean, something like DDMMYYY or something, blah blah blah. Okay, and okay, status. Okay, status also I'm status instead of 404. Okay, I want to print like not found. Why? Because here anyhow we are returning a status, right? Here you can see we are returning the status, right? Already 404. So why to repeat again 404 within the error response? Okay, and you know, so this is the message. Okay, so here some message is there, right? Okay, so this particular message, okay, you know, I mean, whenever we try to invoke a post call to create a new record, so at the time, I mean, I will cover what to say in my next video how to handle the Spring Boot validations also. So there, so it will try to validate all your fields. So for that purpose, I mean, it's better to have a list of errors instead of a single field. Okay. So like that, I want to customize this particular error message as per our requirement, right? So how to customize? How to customize? So for that, what we need to do? Okay. In the same exception package. So where is this package? Yeah. So I will try to create one pozo. Okay, one pozo with the name error message error message. Okay. Um, yeah. So this is the error message. So in this one, okay, I'm interested in the fields. For example, private. Okay, local date time. Okay, timestamp. Okay, timestamp. Okay. So here under one more field, private HTTP status. Okay, status. Okay, and private. Okay, string. Okay, path. Okay, private list of string. Okay, so errors. Okay, so I mean these are the four fields. I mean I want to return in the response. Okay, so this is my requirement. Okay, now I want to customize the timestamp, right? So in order to customize, what we need to do, we need to use the JSON format. Okay, so here shape equal to JSON. Uh, you know JSON format dot shape dot string. Okay. Um, yeah, let me correct this. JSON format, right? Dot shape dot string. Okay, something went wrong. Shape, yeah, sorry, it's a capital S. Okay, shape dot string. Okay, and pattern. Okay, we need to write pattern also, right? Okay, pattern is pattern DDMMYY. Okay, yeah, yeah, we are good. Okay, now it is showing something wrong here. String, yeah, so this is the one. Yeah, so far so good. Okay, so far so good. So now I will try to add Lombok annotations at the rate data. Okay, at the rate data and at the rate all logs constructor. Okay, so yeah, so far so good. Okay, so now let's jump to the controller part. Okay, so since we are handling all employee CRUD operations in employee controller, okay, let me try to add one exception handler within this controller. Okay, so for that, what we need to do at the rate exception handler. Okay, I will try to add one. What is say? Um, so here, yeah, I will try to handle. Okay, handle resource. Any name you can give. Okay, I'm just giving handle resource not found exception. Okay, something blah blah blah. Okay, here what it needs to return. Okay, so here, okay, I'm just returning response entity. Okay, I'm just returning response entity. So here, okay, so since I'm going to customize error message, right? So obviously just now I created one poser, right? Error message. Okay, so this error message. Okay, response. Okay, response is equal to some name I'm giving. New error response. Okay, sorry, error message. So here, obviously, the first field is the time, right? Timestamp. So local datetime dot now. Okay. So this one, local datetime dot now. Okay. So then, what's the next field? So the next field is what do you say? This one. Okay. Let me see. What's the next field? Yeah, status, right? So status. So we need to return HTTP status. Okay. Dot not found. Yeah, we are good. Okay, what's the next field? Path, right? So for that path, okay, so here main, no, we need to pass this resource not found exception. Okay, ex comma basically web request. Okay, request. Okay, so I will I will tell you once I finish the coding. Okay, so here request dot, okay, request dot get description. Okay, of false. Okay, and arrays dot as list. Okay, and ex dot get message. Okay, so yeah, so then okay, return response entity. Okay, response entity dot, okay, dot status of http status dot not found. Okay, and dot body of this response. Yeah, see, so far so good. So now let me explain. So see, we are trying to throw this custom exception from the service implementation, right? So where is the service implementation? So basically that is here, right? So somewhere find by ID or else throw off, we are returning resource not found exception. See, usually what we know in the Java, whenever we want to catch any particular exception, we need to enclose that particular piece of code within the try catch block, right? So then only it will fall into that particular catch block. So here, okay, so Spring has introduced this particular concept with the help of this iterate exception handler. Okay, so if you write some particular method with this particular expected exception, so obviously wherever you throw that particular exception, so ultimately it will come here and it will try to enter into this particular method. Okay. So then it will try to create this custom exception. What do you say? Uh, customized error message by passing these four parameters. So here I'm just trying to consider the current timestamp and now status as a not found, and okay, request dot get description of false, in the sense, it will what do you say, it will print that particular path URI value. Okay, and arrays dot as list of the what do you say, the list of errors. Okay, what is the exact exception? Okay, now I'm simply enclosing this particular response into this particular response entity in the form of body. Okay, so now let me keep the breakpoint. I'm not sure whether I've restarted the server in run mode or debug mode. Okay, so now, so I'm trying to hit, yeah, I guess, see, we are trying to what do you say, throw this particular exception. So obviously from here, okay, let me keep the breakpoint once again. Okay, so flow came here and then just resuming the flow. Okay, so this time slightly, the error response will be modified as per our requirement. Okay, let me see here. Okay, yeah, so here is we, okay, so here, see, now status not found. Earlier what we have got, status is 404, right? Now as per our requirement, now we have got status not found. See, earlier the timestamp is something like this, right? 2023 something blah blah blah. See, now it's printing neatly 2601 2023, right? And time also it's printing properly. Okay, and path also it's printing URI is equal to so and so is the URI value. errors. Okay, errors. This is the. I mean, I'm printing in a generic way, like a list of errors. Okay, even though we have a single error, so it's good to keep the errors always in the list of errors, right? So that in future, I mean, if you want to return multiple errors, we can accommodate all those errors within this particular list. Okay, so see now. Okay, let me keep here itself just below so that I mean it would be good for comparison. See, so this was the old message and this is the current message. See how it got what is say um, beautified now. Okay, so now it's looking good, right, compared to earlier. Okay, so okay, so far so good. Okay, so far so good. So the next point what I want to highlight here is, okay, so since we have one controller and one service implementation, okay, so far so good. But as I said, okay, in real time we do have n number of controllers, n number of service implementation, n number of repositories, right? So then in that case, do we really need to add this type of exception handlers in each and every controller? So it's a bit cumbersome, right? I mean, so is it really required, right? So ideally, it's not required. So again, Spring has given one more approach to handle all the exceptions in a global way. Okay. So how to handle like that, you know? So within the same exception, okay. So here, okay, I'm trying to create one more class, okay, with the name something global exception handler. Okay, any name you can give. So I'm just giving a relevant name. Okay, see global exception handler, I just created one name, I mean one empty class. Okay, so here we just need to annotate this particular class with at the rate controller advice. Okay, so second one. Okay, and the next step is go to controller. Okay, whatever you have written, so just cut and paste, cut. Okay, so here so where is this? Yeah, so I'm just pasting. Okay, so here you see so the same thing, okay, right? So now, so let's assume you have employee controller, you have product controller, you have order controller, like you have a number of controllers, right? So in each flow, obviously, you will come across this type of scenario, right? Record not found in the database, right? So like in all the controllers, you can throw the same resource not found exception. So ultimately, flow will come to this common point. So here, right? That is global exception handler, right? So now let me show you. Okay, so here resource not found exception. Yeah, guess everything is looking good. So ideally it should work. So let's see. See now flow came to this particular point. So now we have exception handler in the new class, that is global exception handler, not within the controller. Now I'm trying to resume the flow. So I'm not sure. Okay, one second. Um, so it's not allowing me to keep the breakpoint over here. So I guess so. Let me resume. So let's see what happens. Yeah, see, we have got the same response, right? So somehow, I mean, it was not allowing me to keep the breakpoint, but that's not the issue. So here you can see the same response. So now, so by this way, so I just shifted the code. That's it, from the controller to one brand new class. So I just annotated that particular class with at the rate controller advice, and I just shifted the exception handler over here, right? So far so good. So what do you say? Now resource not found exception, right? So so there are a bit better approach, right? So I will tell you one more point over here. Okay. So resource not found exception, so here if you see this extends runtime exception, right? Okay, runtime exception. um, do we really need to add a resource not found exception here? Okay, so my point here is, um, so can I restrict this particular uh, this particular method, okay, only for specific exceptions? So that is my requirement. So I don't want to enter each and every custom exceptions to enter into this particular method. Okay, so for example what I want to say here is, okay, so runtime exception, so I can change it to runtime exception, for example runtime exception. Okay, see, I just changed from resource not found exception to runtime exception, right? So in that case, what happens? Let me see. Okay, so now in the service implementation, we are throwing resource not found exception, which is a child class of runtime exception, right? So now here, what you say? Uh, so here earlier, I mean, we just added resource not found exception. Happily flow entered here. I mean, we are able to see the same response, right? So now I just changed from resource not found exception to runtime exception, right? Now let me try to fetch the same thing once again. Okay, see, flow came here. Okay. See, same thing we got, right? Not found. Okay, same status. So that means what I'm see, same thing. Okay, resource ID not found in our record. So what I'm trying to say is, since our resource not found exception is a child class of runtime exception, so we no need to give the same exact exception over here. I mean, you can give the parent class exception also. So by that way, all child classes of runtime exceptions will enter into this particular method. Okay, I will try to prove this particular point. Okay, so here, okay, I'll try to add. Okay, so for example, integer. Okay, integer dot parse. Okay, integer dot parse int. Okay, so intentionally I'm trying to parse ABC. Okay, so it will throw some number format exception, right? So, so obviously number format exception is a child class of runtime exception, right? So even that, so in that scenario also the flow will come to this particular method. So that point I want to prove. Okay, so here let me try to hit. Okay, so it's trying to restart the server. It will take a while. Yeah, so it's restarted. See, now it is trying to integer.parseInt, right? So obviously flow will never come to the second line. So I guess, I mean, what do you say? So somehow flow is not stopping here. Okay, so let me. Yeah, see, I think some IntelliJ issue. See, now we are able to break point. Okay, so but however, okay, I will show you. See, uh, see what it is saying now. Email. Okay, let me print here. Okay. Yeah, see, you can see for input string. So this is related to number format exception. So see, for input string ABC, right? So that means, I mean, any type of what do you say, a runtime exception. Okay, so number format exception, illegal argument exception, arithmetic exception, any child class of runtime exception will enter into this particular block. So that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, will enter into this particular block. Okay, even including our resource not found exception also. So right, so but see, but how to restrict? Okay, I want to I want to allow only resource not found exception, specific resource not found exception specific type into this particular method, not all other exceptions like number format or whatever. Okay, so for that what we need to do? Okay, we need to pass, okay, resource not found exception dot class. Okay, so something like that we need to pass. So then what happens, even though you have a parent exception, but you are interested only in this resource not found exception, right? So then So whenever resource not found exception is thrown, so then only flow will enter into this particular method, but not for other cases like number format, illegal augment, or whatever. So right. So let me try to prove that particular point. Okay. So obviously it will be restarted. Okay. So yeah, yeah, flow came. See, this is the first line, right? Integer dot parse int. Obviously, flow will jump from here to global exception handler, right? See, oh, okay. Yeah, see, flow didn't come, right? So this is what we are expecting, right? Even I mean, I just got confused. See, this is what we are expecting, right? See, why? See, I just added resource not found exception, right? So obviously, flow will not come here. Only in the case of resource not found exception, flow will enter into here. So that's the beauty of adding this resource not found exception. So I just want to cover all the scenarios in and out with respect to exception handlings, and that's why I'm just deep diving into this all other scenarios. Okay, so now let's see what it has thrown. Okay, so here, yeah, so this time, I mean, we got the response something like this. Here, if you see status 500 internal server error, so that means in the case of integer.parseInt, yeah, so integer.parseInt, okay, flow did not reach to this particular common point. Yeah, why? Because I have restricted with resource not found exception, right? Whereas this is here we are throwing number format exception, right? So that's why Spring Boot has taken control in, and it has printed the error message in its own way, right? So this is the thing. So after that, okay, here if you see, so till now we just thrown this resource not found exception only in the case of a fetch employee. So there are other possible scenarios. Let me show you. So yeah, in the case of update employee also, here if you see, I mean here also we are trying to fetch employee, right, before updating the employee record. So here also there is a scope to throw this resource not found exception. Okay, and so let me try to hit the same record. Okay, here uh, put okay, put 11th record. Okay, it's taking a while to restart the server. Okay, so yeah, so flow came to common point. Now we will be able to see the customized error message even in the case of update employee record. See, customized employee record, right? Customized error response. Now, similarly, we can see in the case of delete employee record also. Okay, so here if you see, uh, yeah, where is delete? Yeah, so this is the delete employee record, right? So I mean, we are simply deleting the record by its primary key, but however, it's a good practice to cross check if the record is really available within the database or not. Okay, so how to do that? Okay, so here so just copy paste this particular line over there. Okay, so here if you see delete by ID, where it is, yeah, here, sorry, so here, right? So now instead of you invoking this delete by id, okay, so better to invoke the delete method by passing this employee. Okay, so far so good. So now let's test the delete flow. So let's change the http method from put to delete. Yeah, so let's try to hit. Yeah, it's taking a while. Internally it's restarting the server. I'm using the Spring Boot dev tools. Okay, yeah, so now this time flow came to the common point. Okay, so I'm just resuming the flow. Yeah, so yeah, we are able to see the customized error response, right? So now in the case of a fetch employee, update employee, and delete employee, we have successfully implemented the exception handling, right? Yeah. So now next, I mean, we will discuss about the difference between controller advice and rest controller advice. Okay, so in order to demonstrate, okay, what I will do. Okay, so till now, I mean, we have seen, right? I mean, we just prepared this customized error message, and we are just enclosing this one within the response entity and just returning this response entity back to the client, right? So far so good, but I mean, do we really need to return this response entity always? So why we are returning this one? So I mean, in order to serialize this particular error message, back to the client in the form of JSON response. So that's why we are taking the help of response entity. Okay, okay, that is fine. But can we try to return the error message straight away back to the client? Then what happens? Okay, so let's see. Okay, so return response. Okay, even I will change here also in the return type. Okay, so now if you see, if I hit the record, yeah, it's restarting. It will take a while. So this time, you know what happens? I mean, uh, obviously, I mean, we can't see the customized error response, right? Why? Because it will fail to serialize this particular error message into JSON. So here, you know, see this time it flow came. Okay, if I resume the flow here, this time you see 404 not found, right? So that means, I mean, it has not customized the error response as per our as per our requirement, right? So so in order to overcome, what we need to do, okay, we need to add this one at the rate response body. Okay, at the rate response body. Okay, so now you know. Okay, if you hit, we will be able to see our customized error response as per our requirement. Okay, so if I hit the same URI once again, okay, yeah, so it's taking a while. Okay, yeah, so this time flow came. So now if I resume the flow, yeah, we will be able to see the customized error response. See, yeah, see customized error response, right? So so with the help of at the rate response body, we will be able to see our customized error response even if we return our error message straight away without using response entity, right? So now I want to comment this at the rate response body. Okay, I will start using at the rate rest control advice. You see at the rate rest control advice. So basically, this is the combination of at the rate control advice and at the rate response body, right? So here, you know, if I hit this same endpoint once again, we will be able to see the same response. Yeah, so flow came. I am resuming the flow. See, we will be able to see the same error response. So basically, this is the difference. So we no need to annotate each and every exception handler method with the at the rate response body. Simply, we need to use at the rate rest control advice. So and we need to simply return our customized error response. That's it. No need to use the response entity. So this is the difference between at the rate control advice and rest control advice. So the last concept what I'm going to cover is response status exception. So response status exception here, you know. So till now, I mean, we have handled the exceptions in a globally approach, right? So now, yeah. So for example, if you see, uh, yeah. So during the delete employee, what we are doing, okay, the resource not found exception, right? Instead of resource not found exception, what we need to do, we are supposed to return response status exception like this. Okay, response status exception. So basically, it expects the two parameters. One is HTTP status dot not found. Okay, and you know the actual error message string dot format. Okay, of resource resource ID. Okay, SD not found. One second, not found in our records. Okay, yeah. So what I'm doing, I mean, instead of throwing the resource not found exception, I'm trying to throw the response status exception. Basically, Spring 5 has introduced this new response status exception. So this is the alternative way of handling exceptions. Okay, this is a quickest way. Okay, so I mean, this is nothing but a handling exceptions in a programmatical way. So here you see, wherever we want to throw the exception, simply use new resource response status exception and just pass two parameters. One is the HTTP status, whatever the relevant status code, and the relevant error message, something like this, right? So now you know, if you see now, okay, the same delete endpoint. Let me try to hit. So here, if you see, so this time you see. we are not able to see customized error response. Why? Because we just changed it to response status exception, right? So here you can see 404 not found. Why? I mean, you are passing this one, right? Not found. So on this error message you can see here the same error message, right? So this is the use of response status exception. So like this, wherever you want to, suppose you want to throw this exception in the case of update employee record, I mean in the case of delete employee record, so wherever you want you can throw response status exception. But you know, uh, the drawback of this approach is like in real time we do have n number of controllers, n number of service implementations, right? But I mean, if you follow this type of approach, you are supposed to throw this exception at n number of places. So that's a kind of a pitfall of this approach. So the previous approach is a highly recommended approach, okay, in real time. So it's good to handle exceptions in a globally way, okay. So basically this is a basic way of handling exceptions. Like for example, you are developing one prototype, okay. So you want to see the exceptions in a speedy way. So then at that time probably you can follow this approach, okay. So finally, yeah, so here yeah, so just at high level, what we learned the key points. I mean, this is error message for custom exception. So if we simply throw the custom exception without handling, uh, uh, without handling that exception with the help of exception handler, so then we will be able to see the status code as 500 and internal server error. Okay, the same custom exception. See here, we are able to see 404 not found. Why? I just added at the rate response status, HTTP status not found on top of that particular custom exception. Then happily we are able to see the correct status code with the proper error message. So till now it's good. Now as a next step, what we have learned, I mean, how to customize the error message as per our requirement. So in order to customize, I have just added this particular piece of code with the at the rate exception handler. So internally I just customized the error response as per my requirement, and I just returned the response entity back to the client, right? So by that way, I was able to customize the error response, right? Now, how to handle the exceptions globally? So then the same piece of code, I just shifted to one brand new class with the name some global exception handler. So I just annotated that class with at the rate control advice, and I just moved that piece of code to this new class. Now here also the same error response I could see, but the only difference is by shifting the code to the new global exception handler. So by that way, across your application, wherever you throw the exception, the flow will ultimately come to this particular common point, right? So finally, what we learned at the rate control advice versus at the rate rest control advice. So basically, I mean, you no need to return the response always in the using the response entity. So even you can return the customized error response straight away back to the client. So at that time, either you need to use at the rate response body or at the rate rest controller advice. Why? Because basically it's a combination of at the rate controller advice and at the rate response body. Okay. So, and in the case of at the rate rest controller also is a combination of at the rate controller plus at the rate response body. So finally, what we learned, I mean, what's the use of response status exception? So basically, Spring 5 has introduced this one to handle the exceptions in a programmatic way without writing custom exceptions. So this is a basic way of handling exceptions. So you can return the different error messages for the same exceptions with the help of this response status exception. So basically, you need to throw this exception something like this. You need to pass two parameters, something like this. Yeah. So yeah, we have handled, I mean, almost all the possible scenarios of this exception handling, right? So yeah, if you really like my video, please like and share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.